And so when I think about goals, I think about taking that large vision, because most of the time when people are talking about goals, they talk about the large vision and we're going to make a plan toward the large vision and we're going to see the large vision all the time. And guess what? Most people quit on it. And it's because they're not thinking about it in small chunks. So what I do with my clients is I take that large vision. Yes, we have it. Yes, I'm going to tell you to write it down, but we're going to work backward and we're going to go to the smallest first step. So we're going to create some stepping stones along the way, and then we're going to go to the smallest step. We aren't numbers focused. We are action focused. So what can I do? Because the only things we can control, two things, our attitude and our actions. We can't control other people. We can't control weather. We can't control when the numbers are going to come. We can only control what we do toward that.
Welcome to Unmute with Priya, the podcast where silence ends, voices rise, and women rediscover the freedom to speak and live authentically, especially in life after 40. This show is proudly sponsored by Project Icon. I'm your host, Priya Sudarsanam. Let's dive into today's conversation. My guest today is Gabe Cox, founder of Red Hot Mindset. She's an author, podcast host, and a coach who helps entrepreneurs stop putting their dreams on hold and start pursuing the purpose they feel called to. Gabe, welcome to the show.
No, thanks for having me. I'm super excited for this conversation.
Me too. I love just even the fact that putting your dreams on hold. And I think women 40, we often wait until 40, 50, and then realize we've had this dream our whole life. So this is amazing what you do. Let's dive into Red Hot Mindset. How long have you been a coach?
Yeah. So I've been a coach for a long, long time in different avenues. Like I started coaching with basketball, like right out of college. I coached basketball, I've coached gymnastics, running, leadership coaching. And then essentially after I wrote my first book, got into more the goal planning, business strategy side of things. And so now I coach entrepreneurs and help them to be able to go after their goals without sacrificing everything to do it. So I guess I've been doing this part since about 2019, 2020.
I love that you're bringing up the different ways that you're coaching, because I think people think they need to go and get that certification to be a coach. And when you think back, we've probably been coaching a lot more in our lives than we realize.
Yeah, we have, because especially if you've had any kind of leadership role, management role, anything, that's what you do. I mean, I was in the restaurant for a long time and in management, and I was coaching the servers. I was, mentoring them, and maybe people wouldn't think of it that way because as a manager, but that's the way I lead. I like to lead with coaching and with lead by example. And so, yeah, a lot of the things that we know really well, we probably coach really well without having that formal training.
And that's probably makes things, when you're doing something that doesn't feel like work, that's when it lights up that internal joy, that fire.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that, especially when people are like, well, I don't know what I should start a business on, or what kind of a coach could I be? I'm like, what is the number one question that you get asked by everybody? That is what they go to you for. You are the expert in that, and you can build a business around it.
Yeah. So you coach entrepreneurs now. What prompted you to shift to entrepreneurs and coaching entrepreneurs?
Yeah, good question, because I started coaching women and more specifically moms, because when I first became a mom, I was very young and not too young. I mean, I was like 22. I was 23 the next day. But I was young and I hadn't planned on getting married as early as I did, having kids as early as I did. I'd planned on having a career in broadcast, being in one of the cities, things like that. And my plans shifted, which is totally okay. But as soon as I became a mom, I put my dreams, quote unquote, on the shelf because I thought I was supposed to. I'm like, oh no, now I have to just take care of my family, raise my family, and do all of the things. Well, as I was kind of getting into it, I was not feeling fulfilled in a certain way. I was very much fulfilled as a mom. I loved being a mom. I did not know I'd enjoy it as much as I did. But I also had these nagging things just inside me, the goals that I've had for a long time, like writing a book, and they kept kind of prying. And I all of a sudden realized you can do both. It can be an and. And so that's really what got me into it. After I qualified for the Boston Marathon, that was my first goal. I was like, I just ran a marathon. Let's see if I could do this. Let's see if I could do a hard thing again. And that was my main goal was, can I do hard things? Because if I can do that, I can do something else. And that's how I started bringing my goals back in and realizing my kids, like I'm the best example for them. Like if I can teach them how to have a goal and go after it, That's way better than me not having one at all. And once I did that and I realized I brought them into it, they won when I won. I knew I needed to help other moms with that. So I really specifically started with moms in particular, and then it shifted as we went through. I don't know why or how, but I do lead with my faith, and I just kind of felt this nudging that one, it was a nudging toward. I had a lot of men who wanted coaching, and it was weird because I'm like, I market toward women, so but like 40% of my clientele ended up being men for a while. And so I was like, okay, well, I can coach both men and women. That's fine. And then I realized that there was kind of a gap in there when it came to entrepreneurship, like wanting everyone, like thinking that you have to hustle and thinking that you have to do it the exact way that everyone tells you to do it in order to succeed. And really feeling the getting burnt out and all the things. So then that's kind of how I shifted into coaching entrepreneurs specifically.
There's so much to unpack in what you just said. It's awesome. And I want to talk about more about the goals because especially women in midlife, and this is Unmute with Priya, I'm finding your voice in midlife. So many people go through life thinking, I had this goal my entire life. And then they get to this point and they think life is over
Hmm.
or that they can't reach those goals. What would you say to that, especially as you're transitioning in this place of maybe children are leaving home, going to school, and you're revisiting those goals?
Yeah. So what I would say is that it's never too late. It really isn't. And honestly, I was just thinking about this the other day because my kids tell me I'm old. And I'm like, I'm not even halfway through my life if I get to be blessed to live that long, right? But we are aging. I am in my 40s, and I'm like, but I'm in my 40s, which means that if I do live to be 80, 90, 100, I'm not even really halfway through my life. And you look back and you're like, God, I mean, 40 years was a long time. I felt like I've lived a life already, but we have another 40 years to give. And so I think that the first 40 years was a learning experience. It was like our journey, getting to know who we are, who God created us to be, our goals, our dreams, our work, all the things, raising a family. It all taught us so much that now I feel like we have more to give. Like even if you didn't even start, let's say you have had a career your whole, early life and you're like, but I really want to write a book or I really want to do this. We have so much life to be able to do that. And we can transition and we can start there. And I also think of like the most popular like speakers, successful preachers, like these people don't even start until their 40s. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
right.
So when we think about that, we're just young. We can start. You can start at 50, 60. I have some of my clients are 60 and 70 years old and they just know they have more to give. And it's amazing.
Of that because I think with traditional models and the way that we go through life thinking, okay, this is the way we have to do it. And then you're going to hit retirement and then you go relax and start enjoying. But this is kind of changing the framework that, hey, we've got more to give. We can serve. And then when you do that, retirement doesn't even become part of your equation because you're just enjoying living from this new place. Have you noticed that with your clients? And you mentioned these older clients.
Yeah. Well, and it's so fun because I would say they want to make a business out of it. But whether it grows to be huge or not, like they are fulfilled because
Yeah.
they're doing what they're passionate about and they're serving that one person, that two people, that 10 people, that hundreds of people, thousands of people. And they're just, they have more energy than I have half the time. And I'm like, it's amazing to see that. And it's because they're doing something with their skills and giftings where I see, when we do stop working or we have that downtime, like we're not as productive, we're more tired, all things. But it's because we're not using the energy that we have. Where I do see that the pace might be slower. Like they're doing it at a pace that works for them. Like they're not going to be grinding because it's more of an enjoyment, right? It's
Right.
like they've already either retired from full time work. So this is something that they don't want to have to spend 40, 50, 60 hours, but they want to give to it. And I see more a revival and energy in them because they're doing this. And that's what I want. I know that like when I turned 40, my energy just plummeted. And I was a go, go, go multitasker, can do like three people's jobs in one. Like that's always how I've been. And then I'd hit 40 and everything went out of whack. My energy, my brain fog, all the things. And I was like, I don't think I can survive. I just need to retire and be done, which I know I'm never going to retire, at least in one capacity. I'll always be a mentor in some way. But it was just ridiculous going, what do I do with this? But I did have to realize I needed to change how I was doing things because my season was changing, my energy was changing. And it doesn't mean my energy, I mean, like you and I were just talking ahead of time, Priya, and my energy has gone up quite a bit more lately. But I think we need to be able to work with that. But if we're willing to work with that, we can do way more, way longer, and really just serve and give and leave that legacy that most
Yeah.
of us are, that's what we want. That's our heart, is to have that legacy when we're gone.
I love that you talked about season changing, and I think we need to understand that seasons change. I think a lot of times the burnout is from understand like keep doing things the way that we've always done it, and not honoring or respecting that, hey, changes are happening and we have to listen to ourselves as well. So I love that you brought that up, and I love that you found a way to find your energy.
Yeah.
And to do it. Yeah.
It's tough. I
Yeah.
tell you, when you get into 40s, it is tough. But a lot of things were changing this spring. Like we went through a lot of loss. I went through a lot of transition just in client work. Like it automatically slowed me down anyway. And so it was kind of nice. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. What's going to happen? The transitions, all the unknowns, all the things. But it helped me to go, okay, I'm in a new season anyway. I need to reflect. And I think we do need to reflect, I would say quarterly, but yearly, it can change. Our seasons, we might have a season, a longevity season of, 5 or 10 years, but then something transitions. It could be loss. It could be, kids growing up, moving out of the house. It could be like getting out of diapers. It could be all these different things. But as they shift, we need to be willing to look at that and go, okay, what else needs to shift? Where does my time need to be focused? Where does my energy need to be focused? And not only that, but like, what values do I have right now? Because that can shift too. I mean, I used to value being a driver, being an achiever, like working hard. I mean, I love working hard, but I mean, hustle, 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 do as much as I can. Work is the thing. That was a value of mine for a long time. And it was interesting. I went through this season of like conversation, therapy, different things like that. And we really brought out what the values were that I have now. And one of them is like slow. And of course, family and faith are up there. But one of them that was interesting to me was fun. And I'm like,
Mm.
ooh, I don't think that would have been a value even a couple years ago. And so with seasons come our values. Like, what are the things that we really hold tightly to right now? And how do we shift work and like our life and things to reflect that so that we can really just enjoy the everyday?
I you're not the first person who's brought this up, and I think we don't often do this in our lives. Like, as a business owner, maybe a nonprofit, you look at core values, mission, vision, but looking at it from a place, just an individual place, what are your own values? And revisiting that, I think, can be a really deep process, and then you're not hitting the wall so much. You're understanding that change.
Hmm.
Yeah. Let's talk about the entrepreneurs, because as you're working with them, what is one of the things in your journey with working with entrepreneurs that people are doing that maybe they're, trying to go uphill and they just can't? What have you seen that has really helped progress the entrepreneurs that you work with?
Hmm. So one of the things I love is to challenge like the status quo or whatever everyone says we're supposed to be doing. Think that's where we see us getting stuck. When we're going uphill with that big boulder, trying to get it up to the top and it's not working, it's because it's the wrong boulder. Like it's not the thing you're supposed to be doing. And for even when I started a business, I was like, yep, they told me I have to be on social media. I'm going to grind. I got to post every day. I got to I got to comment. I got to be in there. And I spent hours and hours on that. And I was scrolling, doing the things and not paying attention to my kids in a way, right? Like they'd come over and talk to me. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll talk to you in a minute while I'm finishing this thing. And oh yeah, what were you saying something? Like I would just almost ignore them in that way. And I'm going, wait a second. That's not why I do business. I do business because I want that flexibility and freedom to be able to care for my family, right? And so I was starting to see that some of the things that people taught were not working for my life. And I was like, well, if that's true of me, I wonder if it's true of other entrepreneurs. So, like the thought process that you have to be on social media to have a successful business. Now, there may be some businesses out there that you need to be on social media for. Mine was not one of them. I can tell you I have maybe a handful. I don't think I could tell you more than a handful of clients I've gotten from social media. And I was on it for, let's see, I got off of it in 2023. So 4 years. And that's a lot of time
Yeah.
that it takes the place. Same with like bro marketing tactics, right? Where it's like urgency, but it's fake urgency of you got to get it now because it's never going to happen again or whatever, all the things. And so I just learned I wanted to lead with my integrity. I never wanted to be saying something that might not be true or having a fake timer or doing these things. Like I know they work and it's fine, but they feel gimmicky to me. It didn't sit right with me. So I stopped doing it. And I felt like with that, I leaned into being able to do it a way that better suited me, that fit my style, fit my voice, because that wasn't my voice. That wasn't
Yeah.
something. And I think a lot of us entrepreneurs put on a hat that people say, you have to wear this hat and now you have to talk like that and you have to do it like that. And that's where we get frustrated. And that's where we're seeing nothing working and also not having the enjoyment that we once had with it. And it leads us to quitting or, just struggling and not quitting because we're like, we won't pivot because we were told this is the way. So I love challenging it. I'm seeing it in other entrepreneurs, the light that goes off when you give them permission to do it differently.
Yeah. I mean, there's a light going off in me as you say that. I'm thinking, oh, thank God somebody's saying this because it is, with this whole podcast, it's called Unmute with Priya. And I find that, as we were talking before, doing it the way that others say you have to do it. The minute somebody says this, you have to do it, somebody's pressing that mute button on you because you're doing something that you may not even resonate with. And then I think so many of my friends have quit doing their businesses because of that exact reason, because it does take up a lot of time being on social media and performing and doing things that aren't aligned with you takes up so much time.
It takes up so much time. And it's like, if I have to do it this way, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if I have to keep doing it like this, I'd rather just go get a job. Like, I'd rather do something else because it's just taxing. It's not really your business then. I mean, so here's another thing. I was actually talking to someone yesterday just about this, and she was like, I just hate it when they're talking about how much, like, they're on social media, they're grinding, they're like out there doing the ads, doing all the things, and they're like, make 7 figures a month. It's like, okay, well, if you do, why are you grinding? Like, so it's one of those things where it's just so noisy out there, and you just like, yeah, what are you doing? Right? Like if you're doing that, you wouldn't have to be on here. You could be your system would probably be flowing and it would be totally fine. And so I'm like, but I don't want so if someone's saying that, that's great. And they might. But I'm like, but that's not what I want. I don't want to make 7 figures a month. I just want to make a stable income and I don't want to have a big team. Like these are some of my values. I want it to be not a solopreneurship. I have an assistant. I love having a really small team that's like intentional and purposeful, but you can still make a lot of money with a small business, with a small team. And so that goes back to our values. Well, what are your values? Is your value to make 7 figures? Because they have a huge team and they're probably not really netting 7 figures because they're putting a lot of that into expenses, into ads, into all the things. Or is your value time? Or is your value freedom? Is your value to be a nomad, traveling and working? Like first lead with your values and then listen to that person that actually has what you want and see how they did it because they probably did it differently than everyone's saying out there.
First, lead with your values. That's like a piece of gold that I hope anybody who's listening to this episode will grab onto because I'm thinking, okay, this is what I need to do as soon as I get off is get my journal out. What are my values right now? Really resetting that framework. Yeah. And I think it can definitely lead to burnout, especially what I've seen with people who are in midlife. You're getting to that transition point. Can't do the career that you did your whole life. And so then now you're in this noisy space of saying, hey, you can make this much money a month and do this and get this funnel and get that. And meanwhile, now you're burning out from doing that. And you're just, in feeling like, how do I do this? How do I even do this? But I think what I'm learning from talking to you is you got to find your joy in there. So if it's not bringing you joy, don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I always say there are some hard things that we have to do. Like, who wants to do bookkeeping? Nobody.
Right.
We have to do it, right? But we
Yeah.
shouldn't. Our whole business shouldn't be like that. The content you're creating, the most of the things you're doing, the coaching you're doing, the products you're creating, that should be fun, right? So if you're feeling burnt out, if you're feeling these things, then I challenge to take out that journal, to think about, well, why am I doing this in the first place? That why really does matter. But then what are my values? How do I lead moving forward? We can always just draw a line in the sand and go, moving forward, these are my values. And because of them, these are my boundaries. And because of that, here's what I want my business model to look like. And because of that, here's the content I want to create and where I want to create it. Because that's another myth that I hear all the time. You have to be everywhere. Repurpose everything. I'll tell you, Priya, I have a pretty successful business. Again, I don't make 7 figures a month, but I have a successful business. I am podcasting. I'm emailing. That's how I nurture, and I collaborate with others. Those are the only 3 things I do. I mean, my podcast, if I interview, pops on YouTube, but I'm not trying to grow YouTube.
Right.
So like I'm in those places and that's it. And it is so freeing not having to post a blog if I don't want to, and having to be on Substack and having to be in all the socials and all the places. Because if you focus on 1 or 2 places, you can focus on them really well. If you're stretched thin in all the places, unless you have a huge team, which maybe is your value, that's fine, then you're not going to do any of them well. And your business is actually going to flatline. It's not going to grow the way you want it to grow.
Amazing advice. Amazing. You're helping me to reset big time. So thank you. Can you share a success story of one of your clients when they came in and where they are now?
Oh my goodness. Even
I'm
just
sorry, you have many.
Yeah, it's amazing when I love this because okay, here's another thing. What you're coaching, what you're teaching, you think it's easy. You're like, I don't know if I can. It's the imposter syndrome. Maybe this isn't what I should do because everyone already knows this. Well, if they knew it, they'd be doing it, right? So it's like what you know, other people may need to know. And so when I think about goals, I think about taking that large vision because most of the time when people are talking about goals, they talk about the large vision and we're going to make a plan toward the large vision and we're going to see the large vision all the time. And guess what? Most people quit on it. And it's because they're not thinking about it in small chunks. So what I do with my clients is I take that large vision. Yes, we have it. Yes, I'm going to tell you to write it down, but we're going to work backward and we're going to go to the smallest first step. So we're going to create some stepping stones along the way, and then we're going to go to the smallest step. We aren't numbers focused. We are action focused. So what can I do? Because the only things we can control, 2 things, our attitude and our actions. We can't control other people. We can't control weather. We can't control when the numbers are going to come. We can only control what we do toward that. And so I go to that smallest step. And so with my clients, I do what's called a 90-day accelerator. So it's like, all right, let's take that big goal and then we're going to break it down and we're going to break it into a small chunk of what you can do in 90 days to tackle it. And we're going to even break it down more and we're going to hit that in 90 days. Super focused, super intentional. And we work through the mindset blocks. We work through the different things. So one of my latest clients, she said it's so cool because she's like, I have had so many coaches. I have tried to do goals. I love goals. I love setting goals. I've never been able to make it work. And it's because you reframed my brain in how I saw a goal and in how I actually worked toward it and created a plan, because our plans need to have flexibility too. Like we can plan, we should plan, because you can't steer a parked car. You have to know where you're going, but we have to have a little flexibility with that because life happens. You don't know, if plan A is not going to work, which normally doesn't, we have to have plan B, plan C. And usually it's going to be plan, F that we had no idea how it was going to come about. But, and she said, I can't even describe to you how this has helped me move my business forward, because going from trauma brain to actually being able to clear the chaos, because a lot of times entrepreneurs have so much, we're visionaries. So we have so much going on in our heads all at once. And it's really hard to compartmentalize it. And so when we break our goals down the way I teach, it helps you have that clear direction and that clear vision and that one next right step. It's not like all these steps. You're not looking at the whole picture. You're looking at the next thing. And then we plan out that next thing. And it's just like that little stepping stone or that ladder that gets you to your vision. But what's cool is they see the results. So my last client was like, just my being, I've never had this less of anxiety before. I've never, like, just the way I think, the way I do. I now know how to plan something out, like how to take that big goal, break it down and plan it out. And I just thought that was so cool.
That
And
is.
I'm looking at it going, I did that. I mean, I'm just having a conversation with you. Like, that's all I do. I'm just talking it through. We're just brainstorming together and doing this. And I can't I can't begin to it's so rewarding just seeing those light bulb moments and those breakthroughs happen because we're just slowing down enough to really look at that big picture, but then put that big picture aside and do the next thing.
I love that. That's pretty powerful. Just and I think slowing down. I'm getting a lot of really gifts of gold from you, things that you're saying, but just slowing down enough. And I think when you're grinding, grinding, and grinding and then paying for this course to get you to the next level, then
Mhm.
you lose sight of what is the next thing? Next thing that I just need to do to get me there. So that's an amazing story. Just tell me a little bit about how you integrate faith into your business.
Yeah. So when I started, I didn't. I mean,
Okay.
I had my faith, and so I'd have my quiet time, I'd pray, those kinds of things, but it wasn't, like, faith forward in my business, I wasn't leading with it, and what's interesting is as I kept going, I was realizing faith and business is not separate if you are a faith-based person, like, faith should be the center of everything you're doing. Faith incorporates life. Faith incorporates family. Faith incorporates your business, your work. Everything should be aligned in that way, right? Like I always say, well, my alignment is God, family, and then work. But a lot of times I was doing work and then the others. So it's like I
Okay.
wasn't aligned, right? So I just felt this nudge like, I want you to teach how to have me lead. Like, God leading the business. What does that look like? And that's why my podcast is called Pursuing Goals God's Way. It's changed. I think I've had like 3 iterations of what my podcast is. It started with Red Hot Mindset, which no one knew what that meant, right? So it's like, but I started seeing that as a gap, a missing piece, where when I incorporated my faith, when I said, you know what, I'm going to let God be the CEO of my business, I'm going to let him steer the wheel. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to be the mover and the doer, but I'm going to lead with that and I'm going to wait for some confirmations. Sometimes I'm not going to rush into something. I'm going to have confirmations. I had way more peace in what I was doing. And also felt just the kind of little whispers of like, hey, now that you're doing this, I'm going to ask you to be obedient in this thing, which is why I got off social media. And so in 2023, I was so burnt out by just the negative. I just didn't, I'm like, I want to see my family and friends on there. I don't want to be sold to. I don't want any of this, but it wasn't happening. And so I just would leave social media like more down than when I went there. And God was like, why do you need it? And he said, well, because I'm supposed to be there. And it was like, well, maybe just get off. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? He goes, just test me in it. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to get off for like 30 days and see what happens, right? Like I wasn't planning on leaving and not going back. But in 30 days, my podcast grew 400%. 400%.
400%.
I
And
had
not
been beating
using
my
social
head.
media.
Yeah. No,
Wow.
I'm beating my head trying to grow my podcast and it grew 400%. And then over the year, because I was like, I don't think I need this. I'm just going to keep going. My email list, I mean, I had 350 people on my email list. It grew 100% in the year.
Wow.
And I had been trying for that. I mean, that was 4 years of growing my business. And so I was like, gosh, now I didn't think it was correlated exactly to getting off social media, but it was incorporated. It was the obedience factor of like, if you let me lead, then I will do it the way I want to do it. I just need you in motion. And so I feel like that was a missing gap. And that's when I kind of turned and said, I really want to incorporate. If people, when I coach, I love coaching with that, with faith. I love praying for my clients if they allow me to, right? And so I thought, why don't I lean into that? It's a missing piece in the marketplace. Let's let him lead. Let's let him be the CEO. So that's kind of how it started. And then as I've been doing it, like I lead a really big, large conference every year. It's virtual, but it's called Grow Your Biz Without Social. And it's for faith-based entrepreneurs. I don't like downplay that. It's right there on the registration page. And we pray at the events and we do this. And people are like, "Oh, I needed this." It's like it's a different way of doing business. It's a breath of fresh air. It's amazing to see just the breakthroughs that happen with that. And so that's why I've leaned in more because it's just really cool. It's really cool to have all of it incorporated and not have things being discompartmentalized. Like when I was home, I'm kind of babbling a little bit here, but when I homeschool or I have, and we did it classically. So the classical model means that all the subjects are integrated. It's not
Okay.
math is here, English is here, science is here, and they're all separate. We integrate it. Like literature, within literature, you have the beauty of math and you have the beauty of science, and it's all together and you're learning that way. And that's how I feel if you're faith based, that God is. It should be incorporated in everything that you're doing.
What a beautiful way to run your business. I resonate with what you're saying just in my spiritual journey in the past few years, and the women I've spoken to, because as they've hit menopause or they're perimenopause and they're like feeling like their world is crumbling, it's they've developed this faith because or their spiritual practice has improved because they're searching and searching. And that's what happened to me. And that's when I've found that I've had the most peace. So I'm glad you said that, is when I've, don't God or whatever you want to believe in, when I've leaned on that divine source to support me rather than thinking I had to do everything else. I can take a deep breath. And then if I had listened, I would not have done those programs because it was a clear nudge. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. So, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love it. Here's another thing that I think about. This is kind of like against the grain a little bit because you were just saying, all the courses, all the things that you've done. And I did the same thing. It was like I just kept learning, 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 learning. And so now I challenge people, you know enough. You don't need to keep learning. That's like us saying that we're doing business and us not really doing business.
Right.
Because us doing business is us actually moving, actually doing, but learning something, implementing it. And then learning something and implementing it, right? So I always say when people are like, oh, I don't know if I should do this program. I don't know if I should there's this webinar, there's this and there's that, and there's so many things. I said, well, what's your goal right now? What are you really working on right now? Okay, well, does that align with it? Is that going to help you with that goal? No. Okay, then don't do it. They're like, but what if I miss it? What if I need it? I'm like, it'll be there later. If it's not them, it's someone else. You're always going to find what you need when you need it. But how about we just learn what we need to learn and then do, and then we can learn again, right? So it's kind of like we can have too much knowledge and not know what to do with it. And then our brain is so full and we're like, hey, I've been working, 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 but my business isn't growing. And it's like, yeah, because all we're doing is learning.
And that's how the social media preys on you, because if you have that thought, it's literally a ad or something saying your business is not growing and this is the solution. And then next thing you know, you're paying for it. So I think you are the solution for so many people here. I wish I had found you many years ago. So you have your podcast. Tell me the name of it again.
It's called Pursuing Goals God's Way.
Okay. We'll make sure to put those links in the show notes because you've been doing that since 2020.
Yeah, it's
Right.
evolved over the years. And we talk a lot about goal planning, and business strategy without social media marketing.
Amazing.
So,
So we'll
yeah.
put those links in the show notes. And then you have a book as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
2 books. So my first book they sound like they're for runners. I'm an avid runner, so they have a lot of running analogies, but Mind Over Marathon, Overcoming Mental Barriers in the Race of Life. But it's really about taking that goal from start to finish and the mental practices and the success principles, really a mental training book to hit your goals. And the second one is Victory Run, of turning trials into triumph. So obviously, as we're going through goals, it's a goal because it's not easy, and we're going to hit challenges. We're going to hit roadblocks. So what do we do when that challenge comes? How do we face it? How do we get around the road construction, the hurdle, and actually move toward our goal? So
Amazing. We'll make sure to put all those links in the show notes along with your website so people can get in touch with you. And as we close up this episode, for anybody who's listening to this and they're thinking that they have this idea, they want to do it, they're tired of social media, they're just tired of everything, but they know there's more. They know that it doesn't stop with retirement. What words of advice, what words of wisdom do you have for them?
I would say go for it. Like sit with it. Journal. I think we forget to journal now because, we didn't even talk about AI, but the technology that we have now, we forget how to do what we used to do. Read an actual book, take out a journal and write. But writing is so powerful. So if you felt this nudge where you're like, God's not done with me yet. Like, I know there's something more. I know I have this purpose. I'm not feeling that fulfillment that I need. I have had a good life. I've raised a great family, those kinds of things, but there's something more. Then I say sit with it, journal, see what comes up. And what comes up, don't just brush it off like, it's too late, because it's never too late. And again, if you're in your 40s or 50s, you could live another 50 years, like what are we going to do between now and then so that we stay healthy, so we stay active and using our brain, using our knowledge, using the giftings that we have. That's why those desires are coming up. So listen to them, heed them. And it's okay to sit on it for a little bit. It really is. Like I always say, you'll know it's time because you've had confirmation. And that confirmation could come with a song on the radio and it reminds you of the thing that you were thinking about. Or a friend says something and you're like, oh, interesting that you would say that. Or the pastor says something, but you might get 2 or 3 confirmations. That's when you know it's time to act. Like, you don't need to sit any longer. Get a little confirmation, and then either get a coach or find that program or something to help you build those steps if you don't know what to do next. Because I think that's the hardest part. We know when we're excited and we're motivated, and then that motivation fades because we either don't have a community or we just don't know what the next right thing to do is. So I encourage finding a community of people or finding an accountability partner or someone else, because we were never meant to do life alone. We were meant to do it together. And the giftings you have are not the giftings other people have. And it works really well when you put them together. So just that's what my encouragement would be. Get that confirmation, sit with it, but then find that next place to go to help you build that out.
This has been an amazing conversation, Gabe. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your knowledge and what you do. And this is a powerful conversation that's going to help so many people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much, Priya, for having me.
Yes. And this show was brought to you by Project Icon.